This is the end, beautiful friend.
Okay, welcome to my kitchen. Let's not zoom in, let's zoom out. Alright, what we got here today, doing my beef jerky. What I've got here is about a 2.5 pound eye of round roast. Seems to be the leanest one in there. And I'm fortunate enough that my meat market will slice it for me. If you want to get it sliced long ways, you know, with the grain, so it'll be nice and thick, straight down. Now, all meat has some fat on it. And when you're doing jerky, fat's gotta go. It's just, there ain't no ways around it, because that's what makes meat rot, is the fat. Yes, it makes them taste great, but the fat has got to go. And they'll slice it for me, but I'll still come in here and do this. I'm just using a fairly decent fillet knife. Now I have a cleaver, like for pieces like this. You can just pull up on it, slice underneath. Now, not to say to throw that away, because that's going in to my special bucket. Beef broth. You can even cook this down. You can make chili with it, you can make spaghetti with it. And on this 2.5 pound, you're definitely going to end up with some fat and some trimmings. And then with your jerky, just depends on how big you want to make them, how big the pieces you want to make. Now, know this, that when you're putting it on the grill, air, none of it can be touching. Air has to be all around it, which means the smoke's got to get on all sides, top, bottom. You don't necessarily have to flip them. Some people do. I don't bother with it. But a manageable piece of jerky is probably the size of the palm of your hand. And then for me, I leave them long because I just tear them off, and it's less pieces on the grill, so I can get more into it. Then you have your favorite seasoning, whatever you want to make your jerky out of. This is mine, and it's just a bunch of herbs and spices with some teriyaki sauce to give it some moisture. And I just throw it in there, let it sit. And while that's doing all this, while you're trimming up and letting it, don't worry about how long it marinates. It's going to soak it up. And I'm fortunate, this one's pretty lean. Not too much fat in here. So I'm basically just cutting pieces of jerky right now. And I get pretty good reviews on mine. Everybody seems to like it, and that's all that's important. I mean, I like it, but do other people like it? That's a true judge of what kind of recipe you got going. And when you're out in the woods, it's nice to just have a piece of meat, some protein, and it's preserved. Now I like jerky, so my jerky never lasts more than 30 days. I don't know how long it would go. But now, if you see some tendon striations in there, that's fine, as long as it's not fat. And as you do it longer, you'll figure out what fat is and stuff like that. But if you're worried about, did I get the fat or did I not, put that in a separate area on your grill and make sure you bag that and eat it first. I mean, the smoke is definitely going to purify it, or preserve it, excuse me, not purify. But try to see if I can show you the difference between tendon and fat. Now that's some fat running through the meat. Bright white is definitely fat, and kind of a translucent, it's going to be more of a tendon. And this right here on the edge is most definitely fat. So that's got to go. basically each one of these slices, I just quarter it and rock on. And that's pretty much it for trimming your meat out. But you see, if you get an eye of round, you're going to get some nice pieces. They're going to cut it long ways with the grain. It's going to give you that chewy effect that you're looking for. Now, that one right there, it's a lot of fat. So that's probably going to find some chili. I don't know if I may have too much light in here, but hopefully that'll show up. There's not really a place to get a good chunk. So I'm just going to slice it up. I call it my scrap bucket, but it's not scrap. I don't ever waste anything. You can use this in another recipe. That right there, a lot of fat. I got one piece I could pull out right here. Not worth the trouble till I see how much I've got. Another piece. We're getting down into the meat of the roast. And you can see the fat coming in there. You can take this and grind it and make hamburgers with it. Yeah. And that's, get on my seat. Thank God my sink's clean. That's the only piece that I feel comfortable jerking out of that whole piece right there. And then, you know, if it comes down and I don't get, I'm looking for 2 pounds out of that 2.5 pound roast. What you got? Got a knife in my hand. MLK is it? Go ahead, I'm shooting a video, but it's alright, I'll edit it out. Yeah. Oh, wow, you know what? I didn't even think about steak day. Let's I think the other way around would probably be better. That way everybody can get a little bit of sleep. Well, he's working right now. That oak grove. Yeah. Yeah, we can, I mean, and by the time we finish MLK, rush hour will be over. You don't have to worry about that. All right, that's cool. $10. It's not going to take us, we leave here at 10. Yeah, an hour. All right, sounds cool. Never fails. Get a phone call right when you're trying to shoot a video. But we're back. And I mean, you guys don't need me to, you don't need to see me slice every piece of this. So I can speed it up, or we can talk about smoke. Now, when I do mine, my grill has a box off to the side called a fire box. And basically what you want to do is that's where your fire goes. And then the smoke will permeate my actual grill, and the heat will go up into the top of the grill and eventually out the flue. But yeah, this is, I mean, you can use this to make Brunswick stew. Those are pretty much trash. You gotta slice those all up. You can put it in a crock pot, cook it down, make spaghetti sauce with it, spaghetti meat sauce. This will all fall apart in the crock pot. Give you plenty of meat. Yeah, when I picked that roast, man, I really couldn't see down the center of it. It's really cutting into my jerky, so I'm not going to get as much out of this as I thought I was. But for those of you that like jerky, this is definitely the way to go. I know you can buy those brands that are in the store, but you're gonna, if you do the math, beef jerky in the store costs $27 a pound for anything decent. So just kind of keep that in mind. I mean, that, of course, it's going to shrink and get smaller, but that's not a bad piece right there. And when you're out in the bush, man, any food is good food. Never go to the woods with no food. I've seen people try it. And it's like a weight loss program, because you can get skunked. You can try to fish, you can try to trap, but if you don't catch anything, you're going hungry. Always have a backup. Plan B, as we like to call it. But in a true survival situation, you're going to get some skills, and you're going to have to learn them pretty quick, because if you don't, you're going to be in trouble. And at my school, I mean, some of you seen the videos, some of you are maybe just seeing some of my stuff for the first time. I do primitive and modern survival skills, but when I take people to the woods, I take food, and I encourage them to bring what they think they want to eat. But I definitely teach trapping, I definitely teach fishing, shooting, hunting. I haven't gotten into the herbals yet as far as edible plants, because there's a liability there. You eat the wrong thing out there and I say it's okay and it turns out not to be, then we got big problems. Because if it wasn't for damn lawyers, we wouldn't need damn lawyers. Then something else I do, make sure you flip it over, because as it's being sliced, you may get to the end of fat, and it might show up on one side, but may not show up on the other side. You throw it in your jerky mix, then you got a piece of meat that's going to go rancid on you. And rotten meat draws flies. It draws other critters, depending on where you're at on the planet. Alright, this piece here, just right in that area, tons of fat, but out here it's good, out here it's good, definitely across the bottom is good. Then you flip it over and see if it matches. And this is a fish fillet knife, and yes, it is sharp as a razor blade. But always double check it before you put it in your jerky pot. And it's basically my marinade. And then if you've got a grinder, absolutely grind that up in the hamburger meat. Those make a tasty burger. And you've heard of ground chuck, but basically ground chuck is just a ground up chuck roast. It's very lean. It's not that great for making burgers because you do want some fat in your burger. That's where the taste comes from. But when you're making chili or spaghetti, I mean, you already got all those carbs with the pastas. So yeah, cut out some of the fat, man. It'll, you know, be a little health wise. Did you see me pick up my cutting board? I'm checking it to make sure I'm not getting fooled by the light. And see, that fat didn't show up on that side. So you might throw that in there, but you didn't realize that that was there. So you definitely want to cut that off. Throw it in your burger pile. One in jerky, one in the burger. And there's other way. A lot of people out there don't have a smoker, don't have access to it, but they do have a dehydrator. All right. If you're going to use a dehydrator and maybe use liquid smoke, which is like totally foreign to me, but you need to use a vinegar on your meat as a preservative. Just a balsamic vinegar, or you find something you like. Because all the nuts and berries and all these tree huggers that go to the woods, they're going to make it. I just don't think they're going to make it very long without any protein. And be advised, you can't live on protein alone either. You'll end up with scurvy and you'll die in the woods. And definitely know your area. If you have a place where you can bug out to, you know, educate yourself on the plants in that area. I mean, blackberries, blueberries, things like that, yeah, they're easily identifiable and they taste great. That's almost too small to throw on the grill. But the rest of that piece right there is, oh, well, we can get one more piece out of it. And then I'm just rubbing it down to flatten it out so I can see everything. I'll leave that alone. Nice chunk of meat right there. Now, once you make jerky, It's not just beef jerky. I mean, you can throw that in on top of if you got rice that you take to the field, if you take pasta to the field, you can throw this in there and make you a nice little soup with some meat. Ooh-wee. Somebody should put that cow on a diet. And this other side's got even more fat in it. So I just slice it up so it'll drain. And I did just poke my thumb with the end of that knife, and you, like I said, you can see it's got a point on it. But don't bleed on your meat. That's just bad form. Definitely, if you see, I don't know if you can see this, or if they'll pick it up. That's a vein, that's a vein, that's a vein. You definitely want to get that cut out of there. And that edge is basically the outside of the roast, and it did have a little fat on the outside. And then, like I said, flip it over, always checking. Now, you see me pulling towards me or cutting towards my fingers. I've been doing it a while, but I'm not putting any force. Like I said, this knife is super sharp. You don't have to put a lot of force on it. And you can find these in any fishing section in pretty much any outdoor store. Quite frankly, I got this at Walmart, and I have yet to have to sharpen it. But I do keep it very clean. And so that's just a big old piece of fat, but don't throw it away. That's where your flavor comes in when you start grinding that up. Now we got deer season down here. I'm in SEC country, so deer season starts in a couple of weeks. Hopefully I'll have some deer, and I'll show you how to slice that. Deer is extremely lean and makes great jerky, and a lot of people like the venison taste. I don't like the gamey taste, so I kill it perfect. And if I don't kill it perfect, then as far as cutting steaks out of a deer, if that deer takes a step on me, that means I didn't kill him as clean as I wanted to, and there will be some adrenaline in the meat, because that's what that gamey taste is. Most people don't know that. They say, well, it's gamey. I say, well, whoever killed it didn't kill it clean. I mean, I don't want them to take another step. And if they do, grind it up, make sausage and jerky. That's the only way to get rid of it. All right, that's it. That was a 2.5 pound roast. I had that much that had too much fat to put on the grill for jerky. Not a problem. Not going to waste. Now, this is my little pot, and I've got my seasonings in here, and I just knead it like you were kneading dough. Just squeeze it in there, make sure you get coverage on everything, and don't be bashful. Stick your hands in there and go for it. And just squeeze it around, because you want seasoning on everything. Top, bottom, all the way around. And I don't let mine marinate long. Basically, I let mine marinate till the fire's ready to go. I get some coals going, I throw some whole logs on, and I'm talking small stuff. I mean, the size of my forearm is bigger than I would normally put on there. So like your wrist up to your forearm, those are fine once you have coals going. And what it does, make sure your wood's dry. If you put a green piece of wood in there because it smokes more, be advised. They used to have and it's still around, some people still use them. It's called a gasifier. And it's basically where it's almost like making charcoal, but you can take the gases that come out of that wood, funnel it into a carburetor in a car, and it will run. And like I said, primitive and modern survival skills, but the wood gasified combustible engine is doable. Just make sure you don't go pumping those gases out in